Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. Elections and revolutions have consequences. Let's begin with elections. The Republicans control the United States Senate, and it now appears that aside from Matt Gaetz, who is no longer being considered for Attorney General, that the general consensus is that those who President-elect Donald Trump has nominated for cabinet positions and federal offices, well, it seems they're going to be confirmed. Oh, I know there's a process, and I know that there will be hearings, and anything can happen, but the Republicans seem to be working as a bloc. We know that now because Pete Hegseth will no doubt be confirmed as Secretary of Defense, unless something spectacular happens. Even Joni Ernst, who seemed to be the one person who might stand up and just say no, well, even she seems now to be supporting Hegseth for Secretary of Defense. And as for Tulsi Gabbard, well, I don't hear any real opposition to her from Republican senators. Now, it might emerge, but the important thing to point out is that there is a prevailing argument. And the argument is that if a president-elect makes certain selections, he ought to be able to get pretty much what he wants. Well, you can't really disagree with that. A president has to have people around him, or perhaps one day her, who they trust and like and who they really want. But shouldn't there be some critical thinking when it comes to the people Donald Trump is nominating? Shouldn't the Republicans say, before we confirm what we're doing, let's go through the hearings. Let's see the FBI background checks. Let's do all of the things which you need to do in order to affirm that your vote to affirm those choices is legitimate. Well, we'll see what happens. The news this morning seems to indicate that Republicans are going to go in lockstep in the Senate. And because it is the Senate which is responsible for confirmation, it appears that Donald Trump will get his way for the most part. And there is a second question which has to be posed. And that has to do with foreign policy and revolution. There has been a revolution in Syria. The United States, Israel, and Turkey are all acting clearly to prevent the new Syrian forces, whoever takes over that government, from having access to weapons that were secured by the administration of President Assad. That includes chemical weapons and other elements which it has been deemed that they should not have. And so there is now a relentless air attack against Syrian military bases. And it is a coalition of people who have particular interests. Israel, the United States, Turkey, all are concerned. And I think with good reason. We know what Assad and his regime represented. They were the devil we knew. Now, we're going to have the devil we don't know, or perhaps not. So there are many questions to be answered. But in the meantime, the Middle East continues in turmoil. The Israelis are doing all that they can to eliminate the threat of Hamas, as they have pretty much eliminated the threat of Hezbollah. And of course, Iran is the big loser. But Iran is not going to sit back and do nothing. No, I don't think that's going to be the case. Clearly, when Donald Trump takes office, there will be major issues involving the Middle East and how to proceed, which are going to have to be addressed. One thing to me is clear. As has been the case with Joe Biden, so will it be with Donald Trump, that with a few minor exceptions, Israel and the United States will work together to solidify the base in the Middle East. What is that base? A base which says that Israel can live securely, without threat, and that radical forces represented by Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, certainly Iran, that these forces are going to meet continued opposition from the West. Does it mean that peace may be restored to the Middle East? Let me point out to you that peace never existed in the Middle East. There were illusions of peace, but it never really came. And the simple fact is that the rejection by the overwhelming number of radical Islamists, and yes, many in the Arab world, of Israel's right to exist, is going to be still the fundamental question. There is more to foreign policy and the role of the United States, which we are going to have to consider and think about. Marco Rubio will become Secretary of State. Oh, by the way, did you hear? It appears that Laura Trump, the president's daughter-in-law, will be named to the seat to replace Marco Rubio in the United States Senate. So much going on, so many things to talk about, and so many real concerns. I want also to indicate on foreign policy that the major issue now will be Vladimir Putin and what he does in Ukraine, in the Middle East. After all, he's suffering blow after blow after blow. What Vladimir Putin has is nuclear weapons, and many are treading very lightly because Putin has suggested that he just might use a nuclear weapon. So there is a lot to consider, a lot to talk about, a lot to be concerned about. Whether one deals with democracy in the United States, whether one deals with the impact of revolution in the Middle East, whether one deals with what a leader may do, Vladimir Putin. We will have a lot to talk about in the days ahead, and believe me, it's going to be exciting. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand. And of course, you can interact with me on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And thank you, so many of you, who are in touch and have questions, and, well, I try to offer the answers. And of course, to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Thanks, Gogo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.